Hi guys, I'm Nikki and I'm a PhD student at NC State. I'm also a mental health ambassador with NC State's Counseling Center and one of the founding members of NC State's Graduate Mental Health Alliance. So, my fellow MHA and colleague at the Graduate Mental Health Alliance, Cody Zane, inspired me to make this video to reach out and continue this conversation on our mental well being and our internal state during this absolutely uncanny disruption to our graduate journeys. So I'm in my second year of my PhD in geospatial analytics. And because I'm in data science, I'm one of those lucky ones. I can work from basically anywhere as long as I have my VPN. So work and even my day-to-day life really hasn't changed that much. But at the same time, everything has changed. And the best way I can describe it is like I'm careening down this highway without my hands on the wheel. And it's like a self-driving car. So even if I put my hands on the wheel, I can give myself the illusion that I'm driving, but I'm really just along for this wild ride and I have no control over it. There's something big, it's dark and heavy, and it's like hanging out there over all of us. It's clouding our minds, it's making it hard to think deeply and really making it impossible to make big decisions about our lives and our futures. So this feeling, it's kind of familiar to me. So around this time 2 years ago, I had just been accepted into this program, this PhD in geospatial analytics. And I called my dad to tell him that I had gotten in, and that would be one of the last times that I would talk to him. So all of a sudden I was like transported to this alternate dimension. It was like swimming through jello. Life was going forward and I was just stuck going along with it. I was having trouble remembering names and numbers, and some days I couldn't get out of bed. But at the same time, I was terrified of going to sleep. I felt that there was no way that I could start this PhD, not in that condition. I felt like I was no longer that person, that student, that researcher that they had hired, that they accepted into the program. I felt like they wouldn't want me now. So I felt like this feeling like I had to wait till things were perfect, like wait till I was better to pursue my dreams. And I thought if I tried to be a functioning PhD student, I would be exposed as like this fraud. And know some of you heard that last word, fraud, and you're thinking, yeah, I've had those feelings before too. This thing with grief and trauma is that it opens these deep wounds that we already have about feeling like we don't belong, of imposter syndrome. It makes them into something fresh and visceral and paralyzing. So I know that this current situation, it's not exactly like losing a parent, but I think some of the same emotions and thought patterns are at play right now. We are grieving. We're grieving the loss of plans, the loss of social connection, and maybe actual grief and anxiety about sick or family members we're worried about. And we have this like collective anxiety about our futures. And I've no doubt that it's hurting my and your ability to focus and really use our brains to the full capacity. This fog, this disruption, to those of us that are already vulnerable to these feelings of being an imposter, this kind of like serves as this proof to our deepest insecurities that we really don't belong. So a year and a half ago, my first day of class, I did decide to start the program, even though I felt like I couldn't do it. I was overwhelmed. I was happy, but I was pretty overwhelmed with all the emotions. So I turned to the student that was next to me, and I spilled my guts, and I told them what had been going on in my life, that I was walking around with this unbearably heavy thing, and it was just sometimes just completely too much. And it turned out that student that I talked to had lost her dad as well recently. And we sat there the first day of class in the middle of the lab and we cried about our dads. And it didn't get easier overnight from there. It took months of work and discipline and therapy and support from resources on campus and a lot of exercise. But that was that moment when I realized that I was going to make it. But those feelings, they still crop up from time to time when things get tough. So what I wanted to do today was take what we've learned from these past experiences that we've had and use them to build resilience for this kind of surreal collective experience that we're having right now. So I reached out to some of my fellow graduate students to share with me their most powerful tools in combating imposter syndrome. And most of them fell into 4 categories. So here we go. We are going to do 4 tips on dealing with imposter syndrome. So the first is celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. And I don't mean like throw a Zoom party for yourself, but you can throw a Zoom party for yourself if you want to. What helps is writing down and reflecting on your accomplishments, no matter how small. It helps to internalize them. So, did you drink enough water today? Write that shit down. Sorry, Cody. Am I allowed to swear? Did you drink enough water today? Write that down. What about in the last week? Maybe you presented at a lab meeting and got some really useful feedback. That's something to be proud of. What about like the last few months? Did you finish a paper, present at a conference, even if it was a poster, and get some really great feedback and support from your colleagues? And in the last few years, you should be really proud. You started a graduate program, and it's really, really brave undertaking. You should be proud of that. Celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. So, number 2, maybe you are fortunate like me and you have this incredibly supportive and encouraging advisor. But even if you are, I found that expanding your network of mentors and role models has done wonders for those feelings of fraudulence that just keep cropping up. So the postdocs in your lab, senior graduate students, or grad students in other departments, they all have helpful insight and encouragement to offer. They may have some new perspectives on your research or questions you haven't considered yet, but more importantly, they have been or are where you are, maybe very recently. They have this moral support, and I know when I talk to more senior grad students and postdocs, they leave these conversations, we're right now like virtually leave these conversations, feeling really empowered and encouraged. So expanding your network of mentors really ties into this next practice, and that's getting feedback on your work or your research early and often. So maybe you have an idea and you're not confident enough to bring it to your advisor, or you're wondering if you're on the right track, but you really don't want to bother your committee with that kind of question. Your peers, postdocs, research staff, students, faculty, and other departments even, they may be a good place to take your thoughts, and it really helps to feel good about your work, and getting that incremental feedback can really help build your confidence up. And the last one, number 4, is to ask for what you need. So take some time off. Give your mind and your body space to integrate all these wild changes. It's your journey, and you're absolutely not alone. So I know we're all sick of hearing that it's a great time to do this, and it's a great time to do that, but it might actually be a good time to take a break as well. So I'd really love to hear from all of you on your thoughts on imposter syndrome and how the public health crisis has changed how you relate to your work, but also the tools and experiences that you've dug up to handle all of it. So my Twitter handle is going to be below. I'd love it if you gave me a shout. And if you have any more ideas or resources or just want to chat, please don't hesitate to get in touch. So thank you for tuning in, you guys. I hope you're finding some peace and grace through all of this. Please take care of yourselves. Bye.